Hello, my name's George. Welcome to my blog and YouTube channel, Deny the False. Let me briefly introduce myself. I do not want to get hung up on my personal issues and struggles, as I feel the problems of life are universal. Sharing our problems is certainly necessary at times and helpful. Here I'd like to attempt to awaken a larger perspective on what ails us all, so that a sense of isolation and separateness can be dissolved. I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, about 20 miles east of Albany. You can miss it if you blink while driving through. My recollections of early life are not pleasant, although not extremely traumatic. Eventually, I graduated from college with a degree in meteorology and spent about 12 years in broadcasting. For now, let's just say that was not the path for me. If I were to compare my upbringing to many others, I could argue it was a gravy train. But I think that is a huge mistake we make. The fact that others suffered more does not negate my own suffering or yours. If we were to rate suffering on a scale of 1 to 10, it is all something we would rather move to 0. So my 6 is not at all helped by me knowing someone else is at a 10. In fact, that comparison can lead to a complacency and a justification to continue our patterns in suffering. This in no way means we cannot be aware of and empathetic toward the suffering and pain of others. In fact, the two are inextricably connected. We're one human race, and at a deeper psychological level, my suffering is the same as suffering of others, setting aside the degrees and various expressions. It is said that the Buddha set out to end his suffering entirely as he realized it was necessary to end it within himself before he could really help others in any significant way. My intention with this channel is to open up a deeper and more significant discussion among anyone who is interested. I do not expect everyone to be interested or agree with what I have to say here, nor should you accept what I say. This starts with self-awareness, in my opinion. If I'm ignorant of the process of my own mind and emotional states, my conclusions and perceptions are bound to be severely tainted. An inner clarity and honesty seems absolutely necessary. Anyone who's half awake can see that our politicians and leaders are extremely lacking in this area, and the results we see in the world should be no surprise. Where greed and self-ignorance take hold, there will be endless negative individual and social ramifications. I often read opinions about what the best ism is to address these issues, but this approach is only reinforcing the divisions already in place. We all have certain conditioned preferences, and this will include leanings toward so-called socialism or capitalism, along with the multitude of religious beliefs we hold. Anyone can provide so-called evidence for their belief system while disregarding the many flaws it has. Life is complex and ever-evolving on all levels, within our minds and in the outer social structures. To try and apply any fixed belief system to a dynamic reality is a fatal mistake. I mean fatal in the sense that it is life-denying. One might live 80 to 100 years with all kinds of delusions, but this existence will lack quality and vitality. A beating heart is not necessarily indicative of a sense of wonder and happiness. One reason I've always hesitated to write a book is that I felt a pressure to say it all at once in perfect order and context. Blogging is more flexible, and I'm able to put forth a fundamental philosophy of life and freely mix in real-life observations and struggles. I'd like to explore the complexity of our situation. How does a personal struggle with finance or any other realm relate to the issues raised here? We have to challenge ourselves to see the multiple dimensions or levels of an issue. To be simple, I would suggest there is an individual and social dimension to all of our struggles, despite the fact that we feel isolated and like we are the only person on earth dealing with it. For example, I may need money and am offered a job in a higher paying marketing position or advertising or politics or whatever. I may not be passionate about the job, but the need for money pulls me toward it in the short-term view. I also may disregard any ethical issues with the position and how it may require me to use manipulative tactics to achieve my aim. It may actually harm others. This is where my individual and social dimensions can come into conflict. Is it possible to become so attentive and aware that these conflicts are done away with or at least minimized as much as possible? I have no sure answer to this question, but it is one worth exploring. Even individual transformations do not guarantee society will just fall in line with our views, but at least we'll be able to find the openings and cracks in society that will be compatible with our individual needs. This may be difficult because when we are aware of all dimensions, we have to consider others. The moment I apply for a job, I implicitly compete with other people. If I get the position, someone else does not. If I get a commission from Google or Amazon for an ad on my blog, that is money that goes to me and not to someone else who desires it. This is just the way our system is set up. My aim is not to descend into a nihilistic and neurotic analysis of how my very existence is a burden to others. This will be absurd. The point is that we are all connected, and I think it takes a huge amount of wisdom to act correctly in life. By correctly, I mean action that does not create conflict within ourselves or within the society. I'm kind of laughing at myself as I write this, aware of the monumental demand that I'm putting forth, let alone a possible naive and utopian tendency. Then I respond to that voice by just asking, well, why not? This is a blog, and writing or speaking is in itself an act of freedom. If it changes me the tiniest amount for the better, or helps someone else remove a speck of confusion, then it is all worth it. If it does none of this, it's still worth it because I'm doing what I want to do in this moment. Going forward, I hope to relate all of this to real-life situations, past, present struggles, and social issues facing us all. I look forward to your feedback and any insights you have to share. We all need to clarify our own thinking and remove the heavy social conditioning that has put us in the box, so to speak. Our consent to a violent and divisive corporate system only guarantees it remains in force. Thinking has to change before the structures thought has memorialized will change. None of this means I'm against free markets or innovation or entrepreneurship or any of that. Let's not fall into the trap of seeing all one shade of color. We have to be real about what it really means to operate freely in this world. This notion of freedom and liberty has been greatly distorted and exploited by the elites to secure their own power. If I'm not free now, then when will I be free? If not now, when? Those who propose we act as slaves only to reach freedom at some future point are con artists, and their strategy must be seen for what it is. You're free to see the truth this very moment. Thank you.